welcome to all of our conservatives all across the beautiful mountains, hills, and hollers of Tennessee. I'm Brandon Lewis, your host for the Tennessee Conservative News Break, and we've got lots of headlines. I'm going to get right into this main story because even though it is of a local flavor, it could have lots of ramifications and it could have lots of implications for Chattanooga, Knoxville, Tri-Cities, Memphis, Clarksville, all over in every county for our kids and for our educational system. So I'm going to lead with that. First off, if you would, hit that support button and link in the notes section to support conservative journalism. I'm so glad for the outpouring of support that we've gotten over our investigative journalism, conservative journalism, that resulted in the news stories that are breaking now about the Migrant Detention Center, and more in particular, or more specifically, I should say, the fact that they're trying to put all of these children into our already struggling schools. So if you hit that Tennessee conservativenews.com/support button and you give any amount, we'll send you a directory of state and local or state officials. You can contact them and tell them that we want to see a stop to this. We'll also give you 2 Proud Tennessee Conservative bumper stickers, and if you get $50 or more, we will send you a Proud Tennessee Conservative tumbler. We are about out of these puppies, so you may need to give now so that we can get you one, and I'm going to try to reorder some. But let's get right into the news. And if you are watching, thank you, Tiffany, for joining us. If you are watching from other places across Tennessee for the Tennessee Conservative News Break, let us know where you're watching from. Leave it in the comments section. And this is not a share alert video, but if you have kids or grandkids that are in and around schools in Tennessee, I would recommend that you share this with them, if nothing else, in a private message, so they know what's going on in the Tennessee schools. So here we go. Headline: Flood of migrant children dumped into struggling Tennessee schools. As Tennessee schools continue to struggle to overcome learning loss worsened by the government's response to COVID, mainly kicking them out of schools. Probably can't learn a lot when you kick kids out of schools. Hamilton County schools have been alerted to expect an influx of immigrant children to be admitted into the school system. Now listen, a lot has broken. Rhonda Thurman, who is somebody that I like and respect, who is a member of the Hamilton County School Board, stood up in a meeting to all this and started asking questions. And as the woke mob always does, they tried to use intimidation and cries of soft-pedaling racism to silence Rhonda from asking very simple questions, which we published on TennesseeConservativeNews.com in the local section, where she says that taxpayers and parents deserve answers. And she's got a list of questions there. I'd recommend you go to TennesseeConservativeNews.com, and also forwarded me a document that says, and we've got to figure out if this is the legality of it, that until these migrant children are placed into care of their sponsors, they cannot just go directly into our educational system. But then again, it depends on how many sponsors are in your area, I suppose. Back to the story here. The principals of Hamilton County schools have been instructed by email to register these children immediately. In response, Hamilton County Schools posted on social media that Hamilton County Schools believes that every child should have the opportunity to receive an excellent publication. You do? Because they're not receiving an excellent publication now. They're just not. Back to the story. The first information we had on the potential whereabouts of the migrant children came from a local news story. That's us. Regardless of where migrant children come from, the Supreme Court in the United States ruled in Plyer versus Doe, 1982, that the state cannot deny access to public education to a child on the basis of their citizenship status. Well, there's not a whole lot of educating going on in the government schools now, so I don't know if these kids are going to miss out on much more than glorified babysitting that's very expensive. Back to the story. The federal law also speaks of the role of public schools in educating unaccompanied youth, which includes migrant children. We will continue to uphold our duty to follow the law and providing safe, welcoming environment for all children in Hamilton County. Mayor Jim Coppinger spoke of the migrant children being held in Chattanooga, and he said this. I believe him. I didn't know anything about it. I actually read about it in a local publication. Again, us guys, for the love of Pete, cite us, come on now, give us a little love. No one has contacted me about it officially yet. So a lot of people really were completely caught off guard by our story. They tried to keep this stuff secret. They tried They tried to hide it. They say they don't publish the addresses of these immigration dissemination posts, but to be honest, I don't think they do it out of safety. I think they do it because the public gets into an uproar, and if the public gets wind of it early, most of the time these detention centers they don't end up actually happening. And so last year, our pastor Kevin Wallace of Redemption to the Nations Church leased a vacant and unused building to a nonprofit federally funded organization for the purposes of providing compassionate care and family unification services for children displaced from their families. Well, I will tell this: I'm all for missions work, but if you're going to set up a location in a city where lots of migrant children who can't speak English and who do not have involved parents because they dropped them off at the border. It's probably parenting 101. Don't leave your kids unattended in a foreign country. You should probably engage the community to see if that's something that they want. And there should probably be some public discussion about it and some transparency. This all feels like not very transparent at all to me and to most people who are just finding out about it. The building in question is an old Tennessee Temple dormitory where children are being held. And we're going to continue to bring you live updates on this. But between now and then, share this video, share the articles that we have on our social media outlets and at TennesseeConservativeNews.com, and weigh in the comments section here and tell me what you think about this stuff. Next story. Governor Lee has high expectations for education funding from the federal level. Nearly $4.5 billion has been given to the state of Tennessee as COVID relief package, especially to benefit K through 12 education. Governor Lee said by using these funds wisely and returning to in-person learning, which we never should have left to begin with, my words, not his, we have the opportunity to set our students up for decades of success. Some of the priority areas the schools are asked to focus on are early reading. How about just reading? Might be helpful. Readiness during ACT prep, K-12 mental health support, and teacher recruitment. Education Commissioner Penny Schwinn, worst education commissioner probably ever appointed. Lady does a terrible job. I cannot believe Governor Lee retains her after that child wellness check nonsense she pulled, but to each his own. It's not a very good sign for conservatism. Said Tennessee K through 12 districts and schools are receiving a historic amount of funding from the federal government. As a result, we have both an incredible opportunity and a responsibility to spend these funds to demonstrate how strong student-centered investments can generate positive outcomes and growth in an academic achievement for all children. If only we could get some results out of our government education. We can get real long sentences full of $5 and $10 words, but we can't get reading in the schools. The department is urging each district to use at least 1% of their funds towards the staffing of their schools. Many districts will also use funds for technology needs, serving special needs, low-income students, and allowing more access to advanced courses. Lee has expressed hope that the educational stimulus can help students recover from learning loss caused by the state of Tennessee and poor decision-making, my words, not the article, and get them back on track with in-person classes. In-person learning is safe, and it's the only way our students will get back on track. Well, they weren't on track before, so we can't say back on track. Maybe back on a track that's about 3 years behind where they need to be on grade level, but okay, not back on track. They're already off track. Back to the article here. I support the State Board of Education's work to ensure that in-person learning is again standard in Tennessee and virtual learning is reserved for emergency use only, such as an educator or a government official losing their mind, which happened for most of this year. Next story. Lee proposes sales tax holiday for groceries and dining out. On Monday, Governor Lee rolled out a new proposal that could give Tennessee residents 2 weeks of a sales tax break on groceries and dining out This is a prepper's dream. This is a prepper's dream. He also looked to lower the professional privilege tax and eliminate TCAT waiting list, which I have no idea what that is. We probably should have put that in the article. The governor is requesting $100 million to cover lost tax revenue for 2 weeks of tax-free meals at Tennessee restaurants and tax-free groceries at stores in the state. The alleged proposal from Governor Lee includes a sales tax holiday on foods, are based on unallocated monies from the previous year and federal coronavirus response funds. Over $300 million will be left over from various state departments that did not use their entire budget for the fiscal year that ends in June. $100 million in federal funding will also be coming. I would love to see some of this money that are in these slush funds go to some of these people that were 50, 60, 70 years old that had businesses that lost all their retirement income as the government shut them down. I think that'd be a really nice thing for some of this money to go to. So Biden's increase of taxes would kill 1 million jobs in 2 years. We're moving to national now. Biden has proposed increasing the corporate tax rate from 21 to 28%. Liberals are economics deniers. If you tax something, you get less of it, less investment, less job growth. If you incentivize something, like sitting at home on your butt, you get more of it. Okay, you incentivize something, you get more of it. You tax something, you get less of it. So we're going to tax the productivity. We're going to incentivize the no productivity. And then we wonder why lumber prices are through the roof. And we wonder why people can't find employees. There's a little shop right down the road here that I get my cars washed at. It's a hand wash place. And they can't, all their people quit and left. I've got friends in the industry, the restaurant industry, friends in the service industry all over the United States. And they can't find help because between tax returns, which are often just tax gifts, because it's not tax money paid in that's given back, it's just free money, and stimulus checks and unemployment benefits, people are just sitting at home. And the government's taking money away from the productive, and it's just basically making it impossible for many small businesses and corporations to hire. Back to the story. Reinstating the corporate alternative minimum tax increases the top individual tax rate and amends several other aspects of the tax code. In a new study by Rice University economists, the estimation has been made that the changes will result in 1 million jobs lost over 2 years. National Association of Manufacturers President and CEO Jay Timmons said, after decades of advocating for a tax system that provided competitive rates and modern international tax provisions, manufacturers in America keep our promises following the enactment of the 2017 tax reforms. We raised wages and benefits. We hired more American workers, and we invested in our communities. So we had a lot of manufacturing come back because of Trump's magic wand, and that is quit penalizing people for doing business here in the United States. Quit driving our jobs overseas. Quit importing cheap labor that makes it impossible for people to go to work, and quit incentivizing people to sit at home. It's just bad economic decisions. As a business coach, these are bad economic decisions. We should be building on that progress, not rolling it back, but the conclusion of the study is inescapable. Follow through with tax hikes and give other countries a clear advantage that we'll see fewer jobs created in America. A lot of people don't even want a job, I guess. So after 2017 tax cuts and job acts, manufacturing growth exploded. In 2018, manufacturers added 263,000 new jobs, the biggest increase in manufacturing in 21 years. And we traded that for Joe Biden. In 2018, manufacturing wages also increased by 3%, by 2%, and in 2019 by 3%. That's almost 10%. Manufacturing capital also grew by 4.5 and 5.7 in 2018 and 2019, respectively, and manufacturing production grew 2.7% in 2018, with December 2018 being the best month on record in a decade. As border crisis worsens, okay, next story, Biden taps new immigration officials. President Joe Biden announced Monday his plan to nominate probably some incompetent person who will not solve the border crisis. My words, not the article. Several immigration officials to help address the growing crisis at the southern border. There's no crisis at the southern border. They haven't done a press conference on this for 3 weeks, including some who were vocal critics of the Trump administration. Okay, great. Biden will tap Chris Magnus, chief of police in Tucson, Arizona, to help head up the U.S. Customs and Border Protection. The decision comes With Magnus's history of politicized comments in tow, Magnus is a vocal critic of former President Donald Trump, penning an op-ed in 2017 criticizing the former president's stance on sanctuary cities. Looks like we're trying to turn some of our cities here in Tennessee into sanctuary cities. He also made headlines for holding a Black Lives Matter sign in a photo that went viral. It's going to be helpful. Magnus's nomination received pushback Monday afternoon. President Biden has nominated a chief of police with no federal law enforcement or federal leadership experience who opposes many of the very policies that have prevented the border crisis, said Matthew Tragesser, press secretary for the Federation of American Immigration Reform. Chris Magnus has explicitly revealed his support for dangerous sanctuary city policies that prohibit law officials from being able to cooperate with federal immigration authorities. I think most of the federal immigration authorities under the Biden administration probably all just taking a nap. May have told them all to go home, just take a vacation, because you ain't gonna be doing nothing for the next 3 years. With Magnus at the helm, the nation will become a sanctuary nation, not just a sanctuary city. And that is Matthew Tragesser. Arizona Congressman introduces federal ban on COVID-19 passports. Well, if he's a Republican, that puppy won't make it anywhere, but we'll read it anyway. Arizona Congressman Andy Biggs is seeking to preempt any federal attempt to create a COVID-19 vaccine passport. Biggs, a Republican from Gilbert, which means the bill won't go anywhere, introduced the No Vaccine Passport Act last Thursday. We couldn't get our governor, Bill Lee, or our legislators to put this in place in private business. And you can see some of the things that we've reported on at Bridgestone, at Williamson Medical Center, where these businesses are forcing or coercing people to have a vaccine or pressuring them. And this is the kind of stuff that you would think in Tennessee would be an easy slam dunk for medical health and liberty, but it's not. Back to the story. It would ban federal agencies from issuing any standardized document saying an American citizen has been vaccinated. It would also keep federal entities from requiring any type of vaccine passport. He says, I am profoundly disturbed that the Biden administration would even consider imposing vaccine passports on the American people, Biggs said in a release. My private healthcare decisions and yours are nobody else's business. I agree with you. Those are our headlines. Let's see who all we've got here. Tiffany, James, John, we got Christine in Humboldt, Tennessee, Debbie, watching from Joliet, Tennessee. Did I say that right? Probably not. Thank you from Alexander, North Carolina. I'm drawing some people here. This is unconstitutional, if I may remind the people, says Timothy Miles. Thank you, Margaret Ivy, for watching from Chattanooga. And lots of questions here. Lots of questions here. I appreciate all of you tuning in. Again, share these videos, share the news stories, both on our Facebook page here, all our social media outlets that we cover, and do go to TennesseeConservativeNews.com and sign up for the email newsletter. If you haven't done that, you're a crazy person. We send you the news in the email. You scan through it, pick the story you want, click on that puppy, and we'll be off to the races. I'm Brandon Lewis with the Tennessee Conservative News Break. I will see you tomorrow, and we're going to go over the news that matters most to conservatives here in Tennessee.